I guess we did get some snow today. Probably be a good day to take a little rip outside, or maybe just stay inside and do a puzzle. Hey babe, would you mind if I did a puzzle in the kitchen?
Why would I care if you did a puzzle in the kitchen? What's that, babe?
Puzzle.
So what's that?
It's just more puzzle.
What's in there?
Nothing.
What kind of puzzle is this?
It's one of those 3D ones.
What do you need those for?
So what kind of puzzle is this? Yeah, I'm not lying. It is a 3D puzzle. And it is a puzzle. But if you remember, like Palmgren, vapor honed all my 250R cases and did a lot of cool stuff. So that's in that box. 250R cases we're talking. And I have a whole bunch of brand new Honda parts to put in. I've got my crank right here. Got some tools I threw in, new piston. I've got an engine stand from Rob Wicks, Wicked Metal Designs, and the key to the whole operation, gray towels. So if you ever look at Mike Palmgren's Instagram post, which you should, or follow him on Facebook, which you should, or buy from him and look at pictures of his, you'll see everything has gray towels in the background. So I have a feeling these are key to the operation. So what I'm going to do is lay these out and spread out what I'm working with right here in the kitchen. So thankfully, I remember where all these things go. That's a joke. I took this motor apart almost a year ago. Seriously, 11 months ago. But look at how exciting this is. This is like jewelry. So these are powder coated. Based on Mike's recommendation, you know, any sort of footwear on a vapor honed surface is going to show a mar, and then you're never going to get it back. But this is going to be more resilient to wear. You know, since I'll only be pushing this three-wheeler forever, you know, I won't have to worry about any of that. But maybe I might ride it once. But there's some things in here I left in plastic because I don't need the triple trees, but he vapor honed them as well. And all new hardware, still using the existing crank. There wasn't any amount of play in that, so I don't need to go breaking that down to put in new bearings. Mike did all the bearings and seals for me. So I've got a bag of the old bearings, but they're just to get thrown out. So here's all the internals I've kind of laid out. You know, if you look at the clutch basket, like that's nice. That's the original clutch basket. I replaced the clutch in 97, 98, so that was a Barnett racing clutch back then. And I'm gonna run it because it doesn't have a whole lot of time on it since that was replaced. But since I don't remember everything and where it all went, I'm going to be referencing these videos from Michael Sabo. He is an awesome creator, has an awesome channel. Go check him out. But he did a 3-part series with Dave Moore. Now, Dave Moore is like the grandfather of 250R engine building. One of the grandfathers. I don't want to offend anybody. There's a lot of awesome builders out there. Some of them are no longer with us, but Dave Moore is definitely with us. And he, in those videos, can't get the box in the shop, but he designed a engine stand that helps make the assembly process go smoothly. Because when you're putting these gear clusters in, it can be a little tricky. So I'm going to unbox this and talk about what I got in this box. Okay, so I ordered this from Rob Wicks. Rob Wicks runs Wicked Metal Designs, and he's based out of West Virginia, I'm pretty sure. I crossed out his address, so I can't check, but I'm pretty sure it's West Virginia. He has a website. Just Google Wicked Metal Designs and you'll find him. He sells a lot of cool foot pegs that you would want if you were racing. Pretty gnarly. You know, for everyday driving, you know, riding your machine, you probably don't need them unless you want to up the cool factor. But I don't know what agreement they had, but he makes the engine stands that Dave Moore designed. So he sends them. Minimal assembly required. This is the base. So he's got 2 hinges here. I just got to pop out these hinge pins and I'll be in business. Complimentary keychain, 250R. So here's the top piece. So let me pop out those hinge pins and we'll pick up from there. So it's just 2 pieces. Hinge pin 1. Hinge pin 2. We're in business. So it rocks like that for when you're dropping your gears in, and then it stands up when it needs to. And the weight of your motor kind of holds it in place. Cotter pin holds things in place, but simple. Built out of nice steel. Can't wait to use it. For now, though, I know there's some tools I didn't bring over from my shop, so got to go fetch them. Gonna go fetch my service manual because that will give me some torquing specs. Can't remember exactly the level of detail. I think it's pretty complete with what Michael Sabo and Dave Moore do, but I want to have all the information I'm going to need on hand. If you don't have a service manual of your own, if you Google ATC manuals, Oscar Mayer, we're not talking about hot dogs. I don't know why it's Oscar Mayer, but just do it, and you will find downloadable PDF versions of your favorite ATC manuals. So get those. I just told a guy about those yesterday and he didn't know, so now you know. Be back in a minute. So I've kind of rearranged some things. I put the stuff I'm not going to need for this in the box. I grabbed my crank puller per the videos that I've been watching. So these are the videos. So my video is not to be the instruction video for this because Michael Sabo did such an amazing job with Dave Moore. So if you want to know how to do this, go to these videos. But this is the one I'm going to start with. That's part 1. It doesn't show up very well on the camera, but I'm going to have this on in the background while I slip my cases onto the stand and get this thing going. And what's cool is, while I'm cooking up this motor, my wife, who you can just see a little bit there, is cooking lunch. So we're both working in the kitchen. How awesome.
What's going on, guys? I'm Mike Sabo, and this is Dave Moore. Today we're here at Dave Moore Racing, and we're going to build a 250R motor.
So I've already gone ahead and watched this, so I know where I need to be.
We call it Dave the Wizard. A lot of people call him. All right, let's check it out.
All right.
So I've got my stand.
This thing holds a motor.
So my tool is a little different than Dave Moore's. So I've got this one. I don't know what brand that is. It's not a tusk, but it's just like the tusk. So this is the end we're putting in first. It's got the threaded male end, so we're going to use the female adapter. I'm going to put some grease on that before I get started. So I'm just hitting the bearing with a little grease. Shoot, mine seems to slide right in. We're going to go through this exercise anyway, just to make sure it's all the way in. I'm in the wrong half. Am I? Okay, I was in the wrong half. So the way my tool works, you've got this collet that screws in the bottom of this guy. It screws into this. But you unscrew the collet so you can put these interchangeable parts on. So this is the female that is going to screw onto the end of my crank. And then we screw this on. Okay. So that's going to sit right against my, shoot. Right against the case as I draw this down. What did that just come off of? There it is. Back this off. One side done.
So we're going to take this. You said,
truck.
Michael, in the beginning of this, a lot of people
The
do
truck
these
ended up
different
swerving
ways. I'm going to show
like
you
this, and the
I
red
do.
car,
And
then the truck
if you
behind it
like
also
this
had
example,
to
great.
not
If
only
you
go.
guys setting up,
He had to go
it's
back.
now that you pull, it'll be pulled in to both sides. Okay, so one got our transmission shafts with all the shims on them and everything. Mesh them together. They'll lock together like that. Bring it up. Slide it in. Lay it back over. Now the transmission's in. Next thing I'm gonna
Hold on,
do
Dave.
is I'm gonna take the center shift fork, By the way, a lot of people always get really nerved out about seeing this on the center shift forks, but you'll see this on brand new motors. This is a little bit wide and it tips a little bit. So don't let this freak you out. If you've got a worn edge into it, but a little discoloration, that's completely normal. Okay? So bring this up here. We're gonna put it in. Then we're gonna take the pin. We're gonna put it in. We're not gonna lock the pin into the K-shift because the next thing that we're gonna do is we're going to bring the shift drum around. We're gonna set it in here, lift up on that fork until it goes in. Now we're going to lock this front pin in. Okay? So now this, which is the center shift fork, is in the center groove, and this pin is all locked in. Next thing we're gonna do, okay? So bring this up here. We're gonna put it in. Then we're gonna take the pin. We're gonna put it in. We're not gonna lock the pin into the K-shift because the next thing that we're gonna do is we're going to bring the shift drum around here, lift up on that fork until it goes in. Now we're going to lock this front pin in. Okay? So now this, which is the center shift fork, is in the center groove, and this pin is all locked in. So now it's right over the top of that hole. Then take the upper one, lift it up a little bit. Now both of these are both in their pin position, and then I'm going to slide that through it and over the top of that hole. Then take the upper one, lift it up a little bit, or it's been somehow chemically cleaned. If you put it back in and you start the motor up, even with oil in the bottom end, it's just going to sound rattly as all get out. So if you've got something completely dry, then I would put some assembly lube on it. These gears have already been run and there's some oil left.
Transmission's in.
So we've got out the OEM center case gasket, which these OEM gaskets are the best, okay? I actually cut a bunch of my own gaskets for it, which work really good, but for what you can get on the market, OEM is the best. Just place this over here and drop it down on there. Got everything ready. Take this and we'll fit this over the top of this, down on it, just like that. Now I'm going to use the same tool that I used to pull the crank into this side to go ahead and pull this down on top of it. Same tool that I built. Come over here, taking this down. Hold the connecting rod and start pulling it down. Get to a point where you want to watch your cases when you're pulling them together. Make sure that the cases are coming down evenly, and these cases are. If they start coming down on one end more than another, just take a rubber mallet and give it a little tap here on the back engine mount. Because normally what will happen is this will come down, this end will come down a little bit faster if you're having a little bit of bind. And so you just want to give it a little tap right here and it'll level it back out and you can take it down. Just make sure counterbalance or bearing holder is what it is. This is an aftermarket one. Yes, yeah.
Mine is lubed.
I'll throw a few of these in. You can get some in there. It's really not a bad idea at all.
That's for the counterbalancer, correct?
Yeah, that's the counterbalance or bearing holder is what it is.
This is an aftermarket one.
Yes, yeah. push that down. Now that's locked into place, so I'm going to use a little bit of Loctite on these to hold this plate in. And I use red Loctite to hold this plate in. And I use red Loctite. A lot of people out there are going to be like, oh, you should be using blue Loctite, but I just use a little dab. The reason why I do is just to make sure these things don't back out and I don't have to get all crazy with tightening them up. That's good. Think it's a funny story. Retainer plate off. He's trying to get the counterbalancer out, right? And of course, he's been underneath it prying with the screwdriver and everything. And he's like, oh, this thing won't come out. And this spacer, let's go ahead and put this in. This looks like another gill product. On this side, let's go ahead and put the counterbalancer into it. I'll tell you a funny story. When I first started working on these, I had a guy bring me out. He was trying to take the motor apart. And he got to the point where he pulled the retainer plate off. He's trying to get the counterbalancer out, right? And of course, he's been underneath this pump. This case is in really good condition. It's here. It's tightened down. Just like this. So that it got it on here. The counterbalancer here, which will align with a dot or a scribe mark in aftermarket cranes. You see this little scribe mark right there? That's going to be located with a spline. And then down here, you can see the little dot. So I'm going to take this, and if you get an old crane that doesn't have a dot or a scribe mark, come up on the Facebook pages a bunch. See all the teething on the back side of the clutch? That is because they use
Oh, there's that.
grab the foot. There we go.
What'd you torque that to, dude?
That's, you want to go between 12 and 15, neutral, and then first. That's enough with the Loctite and with the retainer. You won't have a problem. Now we'll go ahead and bend the tabs on the retainer over and then install the clutch. Put a little bit of red Loctite on this. Make sure that the wave washer says out ahead. I know right now there's somebody pounding on the keyboard. Never use red Loctite on something you want to take apart. Yeah, well, as soon as you have a bolt come loose and go through your motor, and I've seen it a lot. You don't have to go putting a half a gallon on them. Just enough to keep them from coming loose again. Out here, and where are we torquing it to, Michael? install the clutch. Put a little bit of red Loctite on this. Make sure that the wave washer says out. Here. So then this come all the way around here. And spacer, and we get all that in there like that. Drop this like this. Now we are going to put on one of these girls. And now you should be able to turn it. If you're trying to turn like a 1/2-inch chuck, doesn't leave any sort of marring. This lined up with the drive. And there it is. And that's seated down against it.
So Dave's just putting in all the bolts for the clutch cover. But do you typically do these in a crisscross pattern?
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go back and forth. One of the most important things though that I see people do all the time, especially with gasket alignment, is they'll start putting a bolt in one at a time, and then they'll get to a point where they can't get a bolt in. So I like to get all of my bolts in and down before, and they're still loose, everything's still loose, but they're all in, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start tightening them up. And I'll just basically get them seated. And there's no real pattern that I'm doing. I'm sure that it's in place. Gasket.
We're using all Honda ATCs.
Yes.
Apparently, most of the aftermarkets are not that reliable.
Aftermarket gaskets, for the most part, don't fit worth a crap. But when I was making mine, I just kept adjusting the drawing until it got exactly what I needed it to be. A lot easier. We're gonna have 2 longer bolts and 2 shorter
I
bolts.
think I got a problem. Yeah, I gotta go backwards. Now the gasket. There it is. So, some things have been happening off camera. I saved you from watching me put the stator on and the flywheel and this cover. And I put this on. I've got the case saver from all original. New piston kit. Pro X piston. I was just consulting with my buddy Mike about rings and made sure I was doing things right. So I believe I've got things oriented well. So I'm going to put my base gasket on and slide my cylinder on. So very excited. Look at that. Doesn't that look beautiful? The clock chimes. Must be time. Here we go. And there it is. I've never done that before. And I am pretty excited. It's got compression. It feels really nice. It's got no oil in it, so I'm not going to do anything. And all I have is a small number of spare parts left over. No, I don't have the reed cage in. I don't have the exhaust bracket on the front, so there's a few things left to put on it, but that looks so nice. I gotta make my 88 Big Red motor look this nice. Well, that's what I'm going to call it. Victory. Thank you, Mike Pomgren, for all the motor work, all the vapor honing, all the advice, all the messages that I've been sending to you. Thank you, Rob Wicks, for helping me out with the engine stand. Thank you, Greg Jr., for helping me out with getting the piston for this thing a long time ago when I thought it would be being rebuilt a lot sooner than it is now. And most importantly, thank you to my wonderful wife for letting me put this together in the kitchen. I'm gonna go hang out with her. You guys have a great night.